welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I'm your host, Bob Peters. And once again, I'm at Trinity Springs in the Villages. And I have the honor to have a captain with me, Gordan Ralph, served in the United States Army, correct?
That's right.
That's right. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, Gordan, or should I call you Captain?
Gordan would be just fine.
Okay, Gordan. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you're from originally, and when did you go in, and why did you go in? Did you get drafted, or what?
Well, I'll give you answers to all of that. I am a normal, patriotic citizen who was on number one on my local draft board for over a year, during which period I was on the faculty at the University of Chicago Law School studying the jury. And that was interrupted by a draft notice to join the exclusive club called the Army in 1955. I was sent to Fort Leonard Wood for basic training as a nothing draftee, and at the end of 8 weeks of my training, I was given orders to go to Fort Benning for Judge Advocate General School and also to the University of Virginia. And then I was active for 3 years in the military.
Yeah, you did some active, and then you also did reserve, right?
Right. After I was discharged from full time, I went to weekly meetings and 2 weeks in the summer for a total of 8 years of service.
Okay, so what did you do in the Army? You got up to a captain. Were you, when you were active, were you a captain, or did you become a captain later?
Both. I was a first lieutenant for the early stages of my training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I tried a great number of general court martials, 150 to be exact, and 75 of those were on defense of the soldier, and the other 75 were in prosecution of cases.
So you were a lawyer when you were in the service?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, and you prosecuted some guys, and you saved some guys, I guess.
You've got that right.
Yeah.
And some of them were particularly in defense. In defense, you get to listen to both sides, and when you're a prosecutor, you only know what the public knows, because you can't get at the person as a prosecutor. He generally will not testify.
Yeah. Well, that had to be interesting. So where did you hold court and everything? Where was all this?
Well, that was at the headquarters building at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And there was an office in the headquarters where the general was operating and so on. And we did get some AWOLs, and mostly a modest amount of prison or no prison, but dismissal. And when I was doing the defense work, I had some very interesting cases which I solved in some unusual manners.
Well, tell us a couple of them, if you would, please.
Well, one of them was a helicopter pilot who was a lieutenant who had to renew his knowledge of his job once a year. And the Army, I think, kind of missed their creativity when they allowed him to look at the sample questions on the final exam that he was taking each year. He was found with a slide rule with all of the dots on the back side of it, giving the correct answer for 500 different questions. And so the only way I could figure, since he would not testify for himself because he just didn't sound believable, I entered on a preliminary question for him. In other words, I got all his information and signed a confession to the fact that he took that slide rule in, but he never used it. And
okay.
So
but they couldn't prove he used it. They couldn't, right?
They couldn't prove he used it, so I got him off. He was restored to his duty and made a good soldier.
No, that's interesting. So you did a lot of cases, you said, right?
Yes, 75 on defense and 75 on prosecution.
On offense. On defense and offense.
That's right.
Yeah. So
another one was a nurse who was 19 years in the military. She was a major, and she was a nurse. And at some point, she was on the wing of the hospital and asked to calculate the dosage of ampules and the dripping type of testing of the person. Unfortunately, they loaded 10 ampules instead of 1 ampule, and she died.
oh my goodness.
I should correct that and say that the soldier died, and she managed to get out of it because she was so nervous that she didn't even thank me when I got her acquittal. The way I did that was to cross-examine the bird colonel who was head of the hospital, who I found out had given 10 or more ampules when he was assigned to Washington, D.C. Major Hospital. And so I got that information out of the head of the hospital. And based on that, she was acquitted and was able to retire from the military.
Yeah. So you went from high school, you went to college, and is that where you got into the law?
Yes, I was in 1949. I graduated from high school, went to the University of Chicago, and in my 3 years of graduate school and law school, made a total of 5 years. So I was actually 23 when I was graduated from law school.
At law school, yeah. Well, that's interesting. And then you were 23 when you went in then, huh?
Right.
Did you have to go overseas at all for any cases, or you stay mostly stateside?
They asked what preferences you have in your assignment after the training we had at University of Virginia military. They asked me where would I like to go, and I said any place overseas. So they sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
I guess they couldn't figure out where overseas was, huh?
They didn't have a map that big.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like me. When I got through basic training, I asked to go to the West Coast, and my friend, he wanted to go to the East Coast because he had a fiance there. Well, they sent me to the East Coast, and they sent him to Texas.
Yeah, well, that's
and that's the way the military works sometimes,
very,
right?
Very independent. I actually found that the people in the military were excellent people, human beings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I was very much impressed with them. And everything was very orderly and fair and square.
Yeah. So you did 3 years. You primarily were a lawyer for the 3 years and then you went home. So where's home?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. And in Milwaukee, that's when you went into reserves in Milwaukee?
Yes, I just continued my time in the military through reserves after the active duty.
So when you were in the reserves, were you trying cases too, doing the same thing?
No, these were, every week we would go to a review training session, and every summer you go 2 weeks active duty, like in Colorado. So I had a total of 8 years.
Yeah. So in the reserve, they'd send you, and you go to Colorado, and what would you do there?
Oh, you'd have seminars on the latest in everything in your field.
So let me ask you: now you're out of the Army, you're in the reserves. Did you open your own law practice, or what did you do?
Yeah, I joined a practice of 6 lawyers, and then later had different positions. One was an officer of a large company, Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance, and the career is very interesting because I started a program to help people read and write their own language, and that led me to be involved in other things like Manpower Incorporated, temporary help, and so on. We had temporary teachers, and I designed programs for them to help people who were undereducated.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And I should mention my maximum case. First of all, I'll apologize for my throat. It was just removed a module from my throat, so I sound kind of funny.
So you're not going to pursue a singing career, are you?
No, I'm not going to the Metropolitan.
Okay.
But I was assigned a case where the artillery school had people in bleachers watching how they were supposed to pound the position number 1, and then after they'd softened that, then they had real infantry joining at that stage and going in and mopping up after softening up the position of a fortuitous enemy. The problem was my soldier got mixed up and had the papers to fire long on target 2 mixed up and put it into the target 1.
Uh-oh.
And they killed 4 soldiers.
Wow.
I was on the head page of the newspaper, of the Chicago newspapers and the New York newspapers and all across, and there were people attending that trial. And because of the fact that a colonel restarted the firing after a ceasefire, saw that the rounds were going in the wrong place, and he couldn't find out what was wrong because he didn't know that they had been shuffled with his paperwork. And so I did manage to give the colonel who ordered it restarted. He was the one who took the brunt of the problem, but he got off too, and they didn't send anybody to jail as a result of negligent homicide.
Wow, that had to be a very powerful case.
Yes.
You know.
I also did helping with wills and trusts and domestic problems and so on. So I was just like the personal lawyer for anybody on the base.
Wow, I give you a lot of credit, my friend. Give you a lot of credit.
Well, the Army is a wonderful thing to keep our country independent, and defenses to do what everybody sees on the newspapers.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. You know, in a lot of countries, you're required to do some military. I believe we should do something like that. If you can't do that, do Peace Corps.
Yeah, in Switzerland,
because there is a bond, and like you say, you know, it's unless you served, you don't understand it. You know.
Yes, fine people involved in that.
Yeah.
There were 40 people who were started each year in the Judge Advocate General's training at Charlottesville, Virginia. And so there were 40 people worldwide that were brought into the units.
You had quite the career.
It was interesting. I was actually appointed to a Navy Lieutenant JG because I applied to both Navy and Army, but they had longer years of service required. So I waited around, and that's why I went into basic training, because I had nothing to fight back with, so to speak. I was just simply an applicant in both cases, and I chose the Army.
Well, I thank you for your service. So you did the active duty, then you were in the reserves, and then you worked for all these other companies, and somehow you wound up here. How did you wind up here?
Well, it's a good question. My wife was in need of some help, and we looked at various places.
Where were you living at this time? You were living down here?
We had our own house. We had lived in it here for like 19 years. And so we appreciate the fact that all of the services are available to her for food and rest and whatever, entertainment.
Yeah, it seems like a very nice facility.
It is. It's a wonderful place.
Everybody I've talked to here, they like it.
Yes.
You know, so.
So I was born in 1931, and I'm in the process of writing a biography of my career, which will hopefully be very interesting to people.
Oh, I think it will. I mean, just the few cases that you told me about are very interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Was that your highest profile one, you'd say, with the misfiring, hitting the wrong?
Well, yeah, that was the most dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've done a lot to serve your fellow man, and that's what the service is all about, you know. So, well, I want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the military career?
I would say that I was fortunate enough to get to know people quite well, and I guess whatever opinions there are about the Army or Navy or any of these places, I want everybody to know that we were dealing with top grade people and high ethics.
Did you meet any high profile people that we might recognize? You know, any generals or?
Well, yeah, there were some, but I offhand I can't think of them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I want to thank you for coming on. I'm interested in reading your book when it's ready.
Okay.
You know where to find me in Central Florida Salute YouTube.
Right.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Captain, we're going to say goodbye.
Keep
up
your good work.
Pardon me?
Keep up your good work.
We try. We're a not-for-profit. We go by donations. So we can only do so much, but it's all about service, sacrifice, honor, and educate. Because I'm a firm believer that we're not educating the next generation about the sacrifices men like you and everybody else has made. Yeah. And that's what Salute is all about. That story has to be told. That's right. Thank you. So we're going to say goodbye. You ready? Yes. Look at that camera right there. All right? So all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. Until next time. Perfect. Nice. Today I'm at AMVETS Post 2006, a major sponsor of Central Florida Salute, and I want to introduce to you the commander here, Ronnie Mack. Ronnie, tell us a little bit about AMVETS 2006. Where are you located? And
we are at 500 North Canal Street, Leesburg, Florida. It's right off of 441, between 441 and Main Street on Canal. Can't miss us. And we're a veterans organization, along with, we have an auxiliary, and we have sons of veterans that are related some form or another to a veteran. And we do a lot for a lot of charitable donations and stuff to charities in the area and in the county. And we're a major sponsor to Central Florida Salute. We're proud of it. We're glad to be. You guys do a heck of a job, and we'll sponsor you as long as I'm here. We're going to sponsor you. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we do. Sue and I really appreciate it. We're a two-person operation. Yep. And what we try to do with education and supporting our veterans community, and you supporting us is major thing. It's major.
We're glad to do it, Bob. We're glad to do it.
And you have sons here. You have auxiliary here. You've got a website, too, if somebody wants to join.
Yep. It's don't punch into www. It's amvets-2006.org. And it'll take you right to our website, Facebook page, and all that's there, and you'll be able to find that. The webmaster, he tries to get the calendar on there every month, anything pertinent. There's a lot of other links on there for veterans to find out where to get help for certain claims and stuff like that. Our webmaster's really into that stuff. That's the guy you ought to be interviewing right there. So,
well, you know what,
he's got
Ronnie?
a lot of stuff.
You have a lot of clout. You tell him to talk to me, and we'll get him on the show. Okay?
I can do that.
All right. But I just want to, on behalf of Sue and myself, we want to thank AMVETS 2006 because you guys are the major players behind us, and we appreciate it.
But we just wish we could do more. We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.